Hey everyone, I'm Bethany Gettis. I'm a mom of two boys, and I have kids that eat like football players and a family of four hungry people here in Canada. So, today we're talking about a webinar on healthy eating on a budget and home workouts. And with all the 2026 grocery prices, oof, like coconut oil just hit $40 a tub, and that's not even organic. Meat prices are actually more expensive than my first car payment, and I definitely feel you. Eating healthy shouldn't actually be anything that is like bankrupting us, right? Like I struggle with this as well and pivoting at the store, but these mom hacks are here to help you. So let's dive in. So number one, this is something I love is being resourceful with your protein. So training your brain as a grocery ninja at the store and setting a weekly budget is really, really helpful. So I usually set my budget to about 350 Canadian, and that's for four ravenous eaters in our home. And what I usually do as well is I hunt in discount labels, family packs, think like family ribs, think bulk chicken breast, think fast fry meats, and value packs of like family ground beef as well. Freeze them fast near expiry. So sometimes what you can see at the grocery store as well is like maybe they'll have like a discount on them and it's like a day before the expiry. This is a really good one where basically you just want to make sure you get it into the freezer as soon as possible. And it could honestly save you. I think I saw one recently, it was like half price off. So if you cook it up that day or put it in the freezer, it will basically freeze it for that day and you just have to use it right away. The other thing that I would use for protein as well is tinned tuna, salmon, lentils, and beans for cans. And this is all like $3 or less for a can typically, especially if you go with like the not like the no name non brand name ones. And this can actually stretch out like your meals as well with things like pasta sauce and ground meat. Another great one I find as well is maybe if you're kind of looking at in terms of budgeting is when you go for pasta sauces, try and find some that actually already have the ground meat inside of the pasta sauce. This kind of adds a little bit of extra protein for you. And sometimes you find them on sale as well. So I definitely get this. My boys chew through protein like wolves. So like canned stuff has really been like a savior like in our household. But the other thing too is when you're grocery shopping, especially with like protein, is to make sure that you like kind of have your phone calculator handy because that will really help you kind of go throughout the store and do some mental math. So like 2 kilograms of chicken breast, for example, at like $12 for kilogram is like 24 bucks, right? So make sure you shop when you're obviously, you're fed, you're rested, no hunger impulses, buys anymore. You don't eat, definitely shop and go shopping when you haven't actually eaten. So that's the worst case scenario. Number two is shop the frozen aisle. So this one's really, really helpful, I find, with like frozen veggies and fruit. I definitely see when I go to the grocery store, the produce is kind of stockpiling and people aren't buying them as much because they're so expensive. So they're kind of going a little bit rotten, unfortunately. So I always suggest maybe try and go to the frozen food aisle, and that's a 2026 gold thing to do. For example, like berries, you can get like a $5 frozen bag instead of like fresh, which sometimes can be like 10 to 12 bucks just for a small little like container. They have the same nutrition, the same weight, and there's zero spoilage and zero guilt as well. So this is a really good one. I think just if you have quite a lot of family members as well. Fresh spinach. This one seems to be really helpful if maybe you don't go through spinach enough in terms of like if you're having it fresh. So if you actually buy it frozen, you can put it into smoothies. And typically it only costs about $4 or $5 a bag. And that can last all week as well. This is also swapping out for like maybe pricey lettuce. That's another one I've seen lately is lettuce seems to have gone up quite substantially. Even like the iceberg lettuce, which was something that used to be a lot cheaper and it's not as much anymore. So these are really good. You can use fresh spinach as well for like sandwiches and it's a little bit cheaper as well. So definitely for these ones, any kind of frozen ones is stock up, blend in, and save big. Tip number three is bulk buy your basics and skip the fancy. So I'm thinking things like oats, rice, lentils, quinoa, things that can't really go off per se. Like you can kind of buy big bags of these. So if you grab like a 10 kilogram bag at like Costco, like online. That's another great way to do it as well. $20, usually that can provide months of meals. And coconut oil, that was another big one that I saw that went up massively in price. So a 2 liter bulk jar, I saw that one at like, I think it was like $40. And that wasn't even anything special. But if you go a little bit smaller, sometimes online as well, you can buy jars that are actually about $22. So like half the price for the exact same thing. Another meat hack, this one can be really good, is think about the types of meats that you're actually buying. Thinking things more like chicken. You're going to go for things like thighs over chicken breasts. They're cheaper, they're juicier, they're bone flavored. They have a lot more flavor in them just because if you're cooking them up, they have the bone and the fat typically on there and the skin. And then the other one is ground meat is usually a little bit cheaper as well. And this can actually be very versatile. It can go into like taco nights and chilies. And another great way to sort of stretch that too is adding like tinned lentils, tinned beans, and that can kind of stretch like a meal like tacos or chilies for pennies, honestly. Tip number four is meal prep like a boss. So I know a lot of people are like, I don't have the time to do this, but honestly, like all in all in the month, it's going to save you a lot more money in terms of spending on food instead of takeout. So think like a day of the week where you're not at work and you have a couple of hours. Maybe instead of watching Netflix and binge watching that or anything, it would be a great place to actually do like a Sunday batch. So this would be like a giant pot of chili that can be cooking while maybe you're watching Netflix, right? So you can actually do that with like beans, lentils, and think like meat scraps, like leftovers maybe that you have left over. And 8 servings of that, honestly, you can get for like $20. So I would freeze the extras as well. The other one too that will save you time and money is breakfast. So think like overnight oats. So oats and frozen berries and like chia seeds, you can honestly make that $1 per serving. If you put all of those out and you can put those in the fridge for maybe going to work. Maybe you don't want to wake up and make your, oatmeal in the morning. So some people like to do that a few days ahead. So they have that ready to go. And it also saves you a lot of time during the week as well. This one I love because I have to use this all the time myself, but family raid proof. If you ever have anything that you want to make sure that no one eats, is label it vegetables. Nobody will eat it in your fridge. So think about things like if you want to buy some like for sale chocolate that's like a discount thing. One tip is always to wrap it in something that doesn't look like it's the packaging and label it veggies and put it in your veggie crisper. So one as well, thinking about it, one session of like meal planning, when you meal prep like a boss, this is actually going to be saving your family about $50 to $100 from takeout. Because honestly, like when you go and have takeout now, you think it's taking, it's going to save you time and everything. But at the end of the day, you're actually spending a lot more money on this takeout. And at the end of the day, a lot of it's not even that special. So a lot of people do feel like they've kind of wasted a lot more money with that as well. Tip number 5 is growing your own greens. So 2026 microgreen kits, you can actually get these like $10 from Amazon. This can make endless salads as well. You can use windowsill herbs like basil, mint, and do dried versions as well. Like that will also save, especially like, for example, we use dill a lot, but sometimes if you buy it fresh, it's quite expensive. And if you don't use it up, you kind of wasting it. So sometimes it might be a better version if you do buy it dry as well. And my boys actually did a science project. I think they went to the science center and they started growing seeds. And it actually turned into a really cool project where they had like parsley and chives growing. So they kind of have this little competition going on in our windowsill in our kitchen. And it's a good flavor boost as well for all the meals that we get to do. Tip number 6 is smart swaps and discounts. So when you're kind of going to the grocery store now, you might have to kind of pivot and change a little bit in terms of maybe buying the things that you normally would. People, when they grocery shop, typically buy the same things every single time. So maybe the bill that you have now is a lot more, even if it's the exact same products that you constantly buy. So maybe think about pivoting a little bit and just in terms of when you put your meal together, can we do something different? For example, instead of like avocado, which can be really pricey sometimes. I would go for eggs instead. Think about peanut butter. If that was like an almond butter that you typically would normally buy, you can actually still buy peanut butter that has the same healthy fat for half the price. The oat milk as well. If you're like a dairy-free person, like our family, look for discounts. Like maybe buy two for one in a deal. You can get like maybe two that's $3 each, versus the fancy ones sometimes that cost like $7. So really just kind of look at like where you're buying as well, because sometimes I find the same products, if you go for like maybe vegan butters or oat milks, things that are dairy free or gluten free, can be a completely different price in a different store as well. So maybe keep an eye on those as well. And as well, with meat, is maybe going to your local butcher or farmer and finding if they have any discounted eggs, in the form of like trays or whole chickens. So the reason they usually do this is they usually sell everything more in bulk. So you're buying a lot more food. But the thing is, eggs actually can last quite a while, especially farm eggs, because they are ones that you can usually put in like a cold garage. You don't have to put them in the fridge right away, and they do last quite a long time. So that's what we do in our family. That way you get quite a lot of eggs, and you can feed quite a lot of people, especially if you got boys in your family as well. And whole chickens as well. You can cut them up. You can roast an entire chicken. You can use that carcass in another meal. So like there's so many ways you can sort of versatile and use food instead of just buying a pack of chicken breast that would have cost the exact same. And then number 7 is flavor hacks on the cheap. So this is where ditch the pricey like sauces and dressings. I've noticed those also have gone up massively too. So if you kind of do like a do it yourself at home with like some no name olive oil, some dried spices, like I mentioned, the dill, some lemon juice, some apple cider vinegar, like honestly, like if you actually really look, a lot of these ingredients aren't that expensive and they do last a really long time. And this can honestly give you months of like salad dressings or even like marinades for yourself as well. And they're a lot cleaner. That's the other thing. There are a lot of these products on the shelves have a lot of fillers and aspartame and things that are in there that you probably wouldn't normally want to eat. So with that as well, garlic powder is another good one. That's a great one for like kind of adding a little bit more salt and things like that. And it's kind of gourmet in our house because it's warm, it's comforting, and there's zero waste as well. Because sometimes when you buy things like garlic, there's maybe too much and you don't use it all up at once. So the dried spices are really, really good as well for making all those things stretch out as well over the month. And then just kind of the last tip here is tip number 8, and that's kind of like the weekly reality like check. So really track your receipts, plan ahead, swap out like maybe the dream fruits and vegetables that you want to eat, and going for something that's a little bit more cheaper. When you kind of look at the produce, sometimes it's not in season. For example, like I see this quite often with things like grapes or asparagus. They could be really expensive a certain time of the year and then like really cheap at another time of the year. So just kind of be mindful when you're going around grocery shopping. Like if you can smell the fruit and the vegetables, typically those are the ones that are in season. They're usually on sale, like a lot cheaper because they're trying to get rid of it because they have a lot more. The ones that are more expensive, like right now, being sort of the winter side in Canada, we're not going to have discounts on things like peaches, nectarines, because they're more of a summer fruit. So they're going to be a lot more expensive. So you're better off buying those kind of things frozen. So things like steak dinners as well, meats and deals, you want to make sure that you're actually looking at sort of like what kind of meats and things like that you're eating as well. So wrapping that up, just like maybe instead of having those steaks that look like they're about 40 to $60, which some of them are, for a small pack, you can actually do a lot more with, for example, like a flank steak would be good as well. So make sure you adjust to your crew. So for boys, more carbohydrates, they need a lot of energy and they need a lot of filling up. So that will be less spending as well. And like I said, bulking it up with lentils, beans in in dinners and stuff as well. So there you go. So for 2026 hacks, eating obviously without the pain as well. We're all in this, price boat together. So try 2 or 3 of these tips and see how far your budget can go. And for more personalized support, click my link below here in the description for a nutrition consultation with me. And together, what we'll do is we'll look at optimizing your meals for you and your family throughout the year so we can actually help you save more money. Now, Steven Strumos is going to come on and he'll be joining us and sharing some practical at-home fitness tips. And this is going to pair perfectly with your eating goals and staying healthy and keeping things on a budget. So stay tuned, guys.
Hey everyone, my name is Steven Strumos. I'm a personal trainer and a pain management specialist. One of the best things you can do to take care of your health, and rehab, and prevent pain is to get moving. So I'm going to show you some quick, simple, effective workouts you can do at home on a budget. No gym membership, no fancy setup or equipment required. And as a new parent with a child under 2, I'll give you some bonus tips on how to sneak in movement when time is short and incorporate your kids into the fun as well. But first, just a few general tips about exercise. Tip number 1 is that something is always better than nothing. Don't get stuck in an all or nothing mindset where you feel like if you can't get a full 60-minute workout, then there's no point and you just give up on it. You don't need to have an hour-long workout 3 to 5 times a week to see results. I once had a client set up a pull-up bar under one of her doorways, and every time she passed it, she had a rule that she had to go and do at least 1 pull-up. And those small little things really added up for her outside of any sort of structured fitness session. So there's a lot of creative ways you can squeeze things in, but don't feel like you have to do a certain length of time for a workout to get something out of it. Tip number 2 is that your form doesn't matter as much as you think it does. So technique does matter when you're modifying exercises based on pain, but it's not the major risk of injury that people assume it is. Most clients do come to me with a lot of fears about exercise, and of course they're concerned that they don't want to hurt themselves. Keep in mind that life doesn't happen with what we assume as perfect form. I'm pretty sure I never pick up my daughter with a straight flat back with a perfectly braced core, and that's okay. Pain and injury only happen when we do something above our capacity. So as long as you're challenging yourself within reason and not pushing through pain or signs that you should slow down, then you'll be perfectly fine. So don't stress too much about having perfect or ideal technique. And the third and final tip is that intensity is more important than overall time spent. So this is pretty much a godsend of a tip when it comes to people that don't have a lot of time, including parents, obviously. Oftentimes we're interrupted by work and kids and everything else under the sun. It's not important to spend a ton of time exercising as it is to make sure the exercise you do get is challenging. So challenge is what actually causes our bodies to adapt by getting stronger, building lean muscle, making our heart and lungs stronger, etc. Even 1 or 2 relatively hard and challenging sets of exercise can do wonders for adaptation, which is great for when time is short. And a bonus tip for parents is to make your kids a part of your exercise and fitness routine, because as a parent, it's obviously very hard to carve out time for yourself. My daughter especially is completely stuck to me as opposed to my wife. So anytime I'm home and she's home, it's hard to even get 30 seconds just to myself. That's why I try to make exercise something that the entire family can do. So don't feel like it has to be something separate that you do have to carve out for yourself between work and kids. More often than not, kids want to do what we're doing too. So making exercise a part of the routine and them seeing you do it will only make them more likely to participate as well, which is a win-win for both you and them. I'll put my daughter on my back when I do push-ups. I'll get her to hang from the pull-up bar, as you can see behind me, and she loves to do that. I squat and deadlift with her in my arms, and when she was small, I was able to put her in a harness. I would go for walks with her, sometimes on the treadmill when the weather wasn't as nice. But she even tried to pick up some of my weights and scared me a little bit when she tried to pick up a 10-pound plate, and she was successful with it at a year and a half old, but that's a whole different discussion. The whole point is to create some games and have some fun around exercise. Like my wife and I will play tag around our kitchen island and she'll run around like that. So you can create a rule where every time you enter a room, you have to do 10 squats in order to leave it or something like that. You can really get creative with it depending on your home setup. So with all that in mind, I'm going to give you a few different sample routines you can use to incorporate exercise on a budget without anything fancy. All you need is a floor and a house to do it. And So I will share my screen really quick here to show you exactly what that looks like. So this is the app that I use to send programs and exercises to clients, as you can see, to help them demonstrate what exercises we're doing. So the way that we're going to put this together is in a circuit. So as in, we're going to pick 4 exercises and we're going to do them for time as opposed to reps. So all you have to do is do as many reps as possible within the time frame. So our first exercise will be super simply squats, just like this. Again, don't focus too much on the technique. Just sit the butt down low, get as low as you can. And we're going to do this for 30 seconds at a time. Next, we're going to go into push-ups, everybody's favorite. So push-ups can be modified in a lot of different ways because they can be intimidating for a lot of people. You can do full push-ups as shown here, or you can do a modified version where you go down to the knees, which is a lot more manageable for a lot of people. Like so. And even for this one, we're going to do it for about 30 seconds at a time. And keep in mind for all of these, because it's time frame based, if you need breaks in the middle of that 30 seconds, that's fine. You just get as many reps as you can as that time is ticking away. Thirdly here, we're going to go into some alternating lunges. So you can do lunges in a lot of different ways depending on how much space you have. You don't necessarily have to walk forward or have a long piece of strip of land to do it in. You can step 1 foot forward, turn around, step back like so. And don't worry, you definitely don't have to add weight to that. You can even hold your kid as weight, which I've done many times in the past. And our fourth and final of this particular circuit is something called a dead bug. This one, kids love this one. They always copy exactly what you do.
With the dead bug, core and pelvic.
That for us. So what you do with this one is you lie back on the floor, you have your legs at 90 degrees, and you're really focusing on bracing through the midsection and the core. And then from there, you're alternating one leg down and bringing it back up, all while holding yourself nice and tight. And again, doing this for 30 seconds as much as you can. So that's an example of one circuit you can do. And keep in mind with all of this too, you can be pretty liberal with how you put exercises together, what your kids like most, and messing around with that. I'll show you another example of a bunch that you can do. Let's do dumbbell deadlift. So a second example of a circuit you can do, starting with some deadlifts. So these are more of a hip hinging style motion. And I've held my daughter doing these many times. You can hold even a backpack or even just do a body weight. That's perfectly fine as well. Again, we're keep it super simple and do it for 30 seconds at a time. Second here, we'll do some plank shoulder taps. You get into looks like a push-up position, and then from there, all you do is reach up and tap that opposite shoulder. The really big key here is to keep your hips as still as possible as you shift your weight from side to side. Thirdly, we will go into what's called a Cossack squat. This is really a wide stance shifting side lunge of a squat. So all you do is get your feet super wide and then you shift your weight side to side from there. Let's go from there. There you go, where you just get as low as you can and you just alternate left and right. The fourth and final movement of this particular circuit is mountain climbers, which you may have heard of before. They're quite a popular one. You again get into that push-up position, and from here, you're just bringing the knee up towards the chest. And you can go as slow or as fast as necessary here. Don't feel like you have to turn it into a full-on cardio movement, but kids love trying to imitate this particular exercise as well. And another circuit here. This one I particularly find is good for kids that they love to do, whether they're being held by you or doing on their own, is a squat jumps. Will be the first one. Super fun. Again, if jumping feels like it's too intense, you again can keep it to just regular squats. I've even held my daughter doing these jumps and she has a blast with it, and it's actually quite difficult to do. Again, keep it 30 seconds. You don't need to overcomplicate it. The next one we're going to do as part of this kid-friendly circuit is a push press. It's basically a shoulder press but with a little bit of weight. So holding your kids as best you can, do kind of a half squat and then a press overhead. Again, modify as best you need to. If your kid starts weighing heavier, then obviously that's going to be a little tougher and you can use a little bit more of your legs to help along with that. Thirdly here, we're going to get to what are called Russian twists. This is a great core exercise, and you can do this with weight. When my daughter was small enough, I actually used her as weight to twist side to side in this fashion, but now she's quite too heavy for this and she likes to try and copy me and do this on her own. A key thing you can modify here is you can see her legs are up. That's the harder version. If you need to, you can always put your feet on the floor to make it a little bit more manageable. And the fourth and final is kind of a half exercise, half everyday involved activity. We're going to do some step ups. So what you can do on the bottom of your stairs or anything similar, some sort of elevation, we're just going to step up and step down. You can even have some fun with this and just climb a flight of stairs in your home and then climb all the way down again. Or you can even race one or the other, which I've had some fun with my daughter now that she's able to actually climb the stairs. So again, keep it simple. Like, you can mess around with the time frames. You can do each of them for 30 seconds or a minute. It's really up to you in that case, but it just gives you a bunch of different options of movements that you don't need a ton of equipment for, and they're easy to get the heart rate up, get yourself moving. And again, don't feel like if you can't get the circuit all together, then it's a failure. Like, even if you can only do one movement at a time and you break it up based on how your schedule works out, something is always better than nothing, and incorporate your kids as best you can because they'll have a blast with it as well.
Thank you so much, Stephen, for all your wonderful tips. And if you'd like to book a session with Stephen Strumos, you can find his link in the description here as well. And for anyone looking for nutrition guidance, you can also use my link below to book a consultation with me. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining the webinar today. Bye for now, lovely.